It's probably your favorite thing to put on your spaghetti or your pizza, but it's also definitely not what you think it is. Every time you rip open a packet of complimentary Parmesan cheese to sprinkle on a piping hot pizza, you're actually sprinkling it all over with, well, God knows what. But it's definitely not Parmesan cheese. If it were real Parmesan cheese, you could probably pay your college tuition with all the packets of Parm you've collected over the years of ordering delivery pizza. This might come as a shocker to you, but companies have been purposefully mislabeling their products as real Parmesan cheese when what they serve is anything but. We know, a company trying to get one over on us poor ignorant consumers? What a stretch! Well, what might also not surprise you is that the US government is actively helping cheese hustlers sell you fake Parm. Real Parmesan cheese can run $1,000 for a wheel or more, depending on how long it's been aged, and at that price point you'd probably be counting every single flake of Parmesan that you sprinkle onto your spaghetti. Known as the king of cheeses, Parmesan is so expensive because it can only be physically produced in just one small area of the world inside Italy. Here, the unique bacteria that cows ingest and transfer into their milk grows abundantly, but has difficulty growing anywhere else. With only a few towns in Italy able to actually make this stuff, real Parmesan cheese, or Parmigiano Reggiano if you want to be completely insufferable about it, is in quite limited supply. Add to that the fact that it must be aged at least a year before being sold, and you can start to see why the price of real Parmesan cheese is so high. This authentic king of cheeses commands such a high price that the Parm industry spread out across just a few towns in Italy is worth well over $2 billion every year. So how exactly does one make the king of cheeses? Considering the technique is over 800 years old and can only be used in one tiny area of the world, it must be a complex, difficult process. Not really. Turns out all you need to make real Parmesan cheese is milk, salt, and rennet, enzymes from the stomach of a cow that help curdle the milk. Oh, and time. Lots of time. First, you have to have your dairy cow graze on specific grass in this region of Italy, which teems with 3 types of bacteria needed for Parmesan's distinct flavors. Next, you milk that cow. Well, you're going to need a lot more than just one cow because it takes about 131 gallons of milk to make a single wheel of Parmesan cheese. Now that you got your milk, you stir it in a giant heated copper bowl, adding your rennet, which will help the milk begin to curdle. You must continue stirring that milk non-stop for hours, or else it'll spoil the batch. As the milk begins to separate and curdle, what will eventually become your cheese is deposited at the bottom of the pot. So you then use linen cloth to carefully scoop up all that delicious future Parm. Now, you don't want runny cheese, so you must carefully dry out that lump of formless cheese and get rid of as much moisture as possible before finally dumping it into a mold, which will give it its final round wheel shape. As you wait a full day for the cheese to set, you regularly switch out your linen cloth so your cheese won't stick to it. 4 days later, you can finally remove your wheel of cheese from its mold and give it a bath for 19 days in a very salty brine. That salty brine will help give the cheese flavor and fuel the chemical process inside that will result in a delicious cheese one day. After its 3-week brine bath, well, it's time to, well, give it more time. Your wheel of cheese goes on a shelf in a carefully climate-controlled warehouse where it'll sit for at least a year. If you're patient enough, you can mature your cheese even longer, and the more you wait, the more you can expect your cheese to sell for. Cheese that's been aged for 3 years can sell for about $15 a pound if you live in Europe. If not, you can buy it on Amazon for a whopping $30 a pound, but hey, free shipping. Real Parmesan cheese is a pretty serious business for Italy, so serious in fact that the process to create it is protected by law. Real Parmesan cheese cannot legally contain more than 3 ingredients: salt, milk, and rennet. We're pretty sure here in America it's actually illegal for food to only contain 3 ingredients and no chemical additives. Parmigiano Reggiano also cannot be legally sold unless it has been aged at least 1 year. The cheese is such a commodity in Italy that some banks even use it as collateral. And that's not a hilarious joke about Italian stereotypes, it's the truth. For years, food fakers had been selling fake Parmesan as the real deal until Italy finally convinced the European Union to crack down and make it illegal for anyone to label their cheese as Parmesan unless it was, well, you know, Parmesan. Here in the US, though, food integrity would get in the way of unchecked capitalism, so our government pretty much ignores calls from Europe to enforce similar laws. After all, food safety and food integrity is for socialists. Now, please pass me more of that powdered milk soy chemical mystery cheese powder. But what are you eating if this entire time you haven't been eating communist Parmesan cheese? Well, there's literally no telling, because cheese manufacturers are allowed to basically get away with murder, and oversight is rare if not non-existent. One of the few times the FDA actually looked into the matter, though, was in 2012 when it raided a Castle Cheese Inc. factory that made 100% real Parmesan. What the inspectors found was that the factory was substituting most of the cheese for cellulose made out of wood pulp. Don't feel bad though, because if you buy grated cheese, you're buying less than 40% other cheese. What's the rest of the ingredients? Well, again, wood pulp cellulose, as well as various chemical preservatives and flavor enhancers, cow hoof shavings, and honestly, who knows, no one's checking. There is literally no oversight. But one dead giveaway next time you're at the grocery store that you're not getting real cheese is that you'll find the word cheese isn't printed anywhere on the package. Kraft probably is one of the worst offenders. Can't even label its products as cheese anymore, which is why that stuff you put on your burgers and sandwiches is just called Kraft Singles. If you look closely on the labels of Kraft and other cheese producers' products, you'll see the words processed cheese and prepared cheese or cheese food/product. If you do see those words, drop that packet and run, because it's not real cheese but rather made from cheese. What that means, we don't know, and we don't want to know because the implications are terrifying. Now go find out what happens when you eat an all-American diet with "I only ate fast food for 30 days and this is what happened," or check out this other video instead.